There is a 13th dimension, beyond that which is known to man. It is a... Fuck.
There you go, that's the intro.
No.
There you go.
No,
I have to do this.
Stop it right there, Ackman.
There is a 13th dimension, beyond that which is known to man. It is a dimension as deep as Halo 4's gameplay, and as timeless as GoldenEye. It is the middle ground between nerds and geeks, between good and bad video games, and it lies between the pit of microtransactions and the summit of Titanfall 2. This is the dimension of nerdy video game discussion. It is an area in which we call the All Skulls On podcast.
Dun, dun, dun.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Here we go.
I like
Podcast
that.
time,
That was fucking
everybody.
good.
Yeah. And joining us today is a game win 12?
Game tie 14.
Game tie
That is
14.
game draw 7, guys. Come on, get it right. Get it right.
Modded controller 69.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Gamecheat?
Well, basically, I upload Halo mods, and that's like once a year, because I never upload anymore. But, yeah, I just mod Halo, and that's about it. And complain about Halo.
Like we all do,
Complain.
Oh, so
right?
you'll fit
Sounds
right
like
in.
every single person in this chat.
Yeah.
Yo, so you'll fit right in. And the topic for today is 5 nerds talking about their best video games, or 5 nerds arguing about their favorite video games. So, who should we pass the torch to? Let's pass it to the newbie, Gamecheat.
Oh, uh-oh.
Yes, you better
Yeah,
convince us.
You're on the spot.
Yeah, convince us. Give us a compelling argument for every single game you've ever played.
And remember, your subjective opinions are objectively incorrect.
Oh,
let's just
man.
get
Hey, that's my saying.
let's get the ground rules out there.
Yes,
That is-
Xperia, you've got the copyright on that fucking phrase.
also,
I react well to that,
also
boy.
no pulling of the hair or chest.
Oh, but that's what makes it fun, though.
Back to you, Gamecheat. Convince us.
So which is my favorite game?
Yeah, or the best game.
Oh, well, probably Halo 4. Honestly.
Wrong. Wrong.
I mean, no, spawning with the bolt shot and dropping people, that was like the best. Those angry
Oh,
messages.
you were that cancer.
You're
Oh,
one of those
man.
kids. You're the sleight of hand
Soaking it
DMR
up.
bullshot kid.
Oh, dude, everyone played that though.
That was the best.
I didn't.
All
I was a
right.
good little boy.
Plasma
I
pistols
did not
and
do
plasma
that
grenades and
shit.
big team. Oh man.
I did not do it. I did not use the bullshot. I did not.
I did not bullshot. I did not.
I'm,
Oh,
I'm,
no,
I'm pretty
not again.
convinced. All right, we've got a compelling argument for Halo 4 being that bolt shot spawns in multiplayer. I don't know if there's anything that can beat
It's
that.
the pinnacle of gaming.
Yeah. What do you think, Fav? Anything that can top that?
How about Resident Evil 4? That's a good game, right?
Woohoo!
That was on my
Oh,
list.
that's
Straight fire.
I'm just gonna go straight to it. Like I was gonna come up with a bullshit answer, but straight up, Resident Evil 4. That's a good ass game right there.
Yeah, oh,
fellas.
wait. Here's a question.
That's
Here's
rough,
a question
don't
for
you
though.
think?
Well, you were close. I mean, it was Halo 4, but
Here's a question for you though. What about Resident Evil 6?
Also known as not as good as 4.
What if I told you it is in fact a better game than Resident Evil 4?
You're wrong. Wrong.
Here's the thing, like Resident Evil 4, when you shoot explosive barrels, do they literally take over? Do they look like a recreation of the atomic blast in Japan? I don't think
It's
so.
called
when
style.
When you
Come
punch
on,
a door,
Ray.
do they just, get open, or do they fly across a fucking room and take off a kid's head in the distance?
They fly
When
across
you-
a room and take off a kid's head. Why are you trying to make this
No,
game
they
sound
don't.
even better than it is?
Resident Evil 6 is a game that is so exaggerated, yet takes itself so goddamn seriously while doing so, to the point of total retardation. I cannot help but think this is the greatest fucking video game ever made.
Ray,
It
let's just cut
is
the bullshit.
amazing.
Let's just cut the
Right now,
bullshit.
definitively,
when Leon
be honest with
rolls
yourself.
over a car, it doesn't just roll over, it rolls over 10 times and explodes while doing so.
Ray, what's a better game?
Hold
4 or
up,
6?
hold up.
maybe just jacked.
You can roundhouse kick a dude's face off. You can like a roundhouse kick that'll knock someone's face off as Leon. You got that sick ass hair, dude. You're just like, yeah, I'm saving the president's
red
daughter.
hair.
But the
You
real
can-
thing that makes
the important,
Dude,
the
that
important
hair.
elements of video games.
You can blow off a smoking hot blonde on the back of a jet ski. dude.
As you
I mean,
save her from
come
like
on.
fucking like 10
But
different
let's
super villains.
whoa. Let's be honest
Sorry,
here. The
I'm
real
going after
reason
the
that
girl on my radio.
the real reason that Resident Evil 4 is the best game ever made, hands down, is that the main villain is in fact a 21-year-old that looks like a 6-year-old called Salazar.
That's not the main
That is-
villain.
He's actually a secondary villain, but
Yeah, he's a secondary
he's
villain.
not,
No. My opinion is objective. We're
No,
talking about my
Xperia,
objective
I
thing
think
right
this is just proof that you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to video games, and that we should shut down your channel immediately before any more of your disinformation starts infecting all the little children everywhere. Stop it.
That's like saying, like, oh yeah, the El Gigante, that was the main villain in Resident Evil 4. It's like, no, it wasn't. It's just
Not in your mind. Not in your mind. In
Okay.
my
Oh yeah,
mind,
that
it was.
brute.
You got
oh,
me
yeah.
there.
Oh yeah, that random elite that I just killed in Halo. He was the main villain.
That's the main guy.
It actually wasn't,
That's
eh?
the
That was
the big
Flub
baddie.
Flub McTubber.
I can tell you that the elite that you kill on the elevator at the very end of the Maw in Combat Evolved is actually a significant character that was chasing you for the entire game.
yeah,
Didn't know that, did you?
on the real though, like what is it that Resident Evil 4 does really well? Like
What is something that Resident Evil 4 does really
like
well?
on the real,
Be a good game.
Like- Yeah, it's a good game. It's like a masterpiece.
because of the
Like-
story, like the music is great,
oh yeah,
the
absolutely.
setting.
The story,
It's just
yeah,
amazing.
The story is just like it brings a tear to my eye.
I mean, it's like it's
Perfect!
it's
Really
a
savage today.
it's an over the top kind of action scare flick sort of thing, and that's kind of why I really like it, because it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's not as strong as like Resident
It
Evil
walks
6, where
the line
it's so
perfectly.
ridiculous that it's like, okay, come on.
It
Well, the other
walks
thing
the
too,
line pretty perfectly.
Well, the other thing
Yeah.
too, 4 has it grows over time, because like it doesn't just start off, full, nuclear explosions and fucking, like I mean, Resident Evil 6 literally opens with an explosion. Like that's how the game
You shoot
actually
the president of the
legitimately
United
opens.
States.
4, starts off, looking like it's kind of taking itself seriously, but then you got the vendor dude, what are you buying? And then you've got the fucking, Leon,
What are you
help me!
buying?
And then you've got like these dudes with chainsaws and stuff like that, and then the game also evolves from like this sort of slow-paced, moody, atmospheric, horror-esque romp to, by the end of it, it was honestly reminding me of Half-Life, when you got like the full military gear, you've got helicopters, you got war trenches, you
Yeah.
got like dudes with guns.
It went from like scary in the beginning to like creepy in the castle, and then it's like
Yeah.
action packed in the
yeah,
final
then it's
act.
just straight up action. It's a straight up action
That's
game.
pretty
after
I
that.
mean, I
Cool.
think the last act is probably my least favorite part of the game, but even then, it's still like, it's Resident Evil 4. Like, it's one of the greatest video games.
Hey, a guy.
Did you just have a stroke?
I was trying to be one of those Spanish guys. Okay, so that's a pretty compelling argument for Resident Evil 4, but does
Yeah,
it
it's a
beat
good game.
the Halo 4 bolt shot?
I'm actually not.
Oh, I
done
can
yet.
I can top all of
need
this.
Ray,
I can top
need
all
Ray
of this
to
right here,
admit
right now.
on the podcast that 4 is better than 6, and that he was just joking.
Yeah.
No, here's the thing. I bet there's going to be at least somebody that that did not hear the rest of our conversation. He just heard Resident Evil 6 is better, and then immediately that's just taken up the rest of his day.
Right, and he's not even listening to this conversation right now. Right, he's just kind of pacing around his room, thinking about what he's just heard today, and he's like looking at Resident Evil 4 and 6 with a little bit of shit stain on 6 because he got mad at it one day, and he's like, is everything I know a lie?
He put them
Was I
side by
wrong?
side.
Was
He
I
got like a little spotlight to like really emphasize their presence.
No. Then he walks away. He's like, no, couldn't be.
And
Couldn't
then he
be
just
wrong.
plays Resident Evil 5.
Wait, I mean,
all right.
6 did
So-
have 3 campaigns. 4 if you count Ada's. I don't know anymore.
I don't know. All right, we'll pass the torch to you, Xperia. Well,
All right. Well, my
Halo 2,
mine is-
without a doubt.
Well, if I came from the center of London to smoke like a posh Brit, then that's how I'd say it. But I'm gonna say it in my weird ass fucking accent. Halo 2, hands down, without a doubt, this is an undisputable fact. Halo 2
Wrong.
is the best
You're
game
garbage.
of all time. Shh, children, quiet. Shh, 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 shh. It's okay. It's okay. I know that I'm rustling your jimmies. I'm activating your almonds. It's okay. Don't worry. But I'm gonna drop some truth bombs right now. So Halo 2 has the most atmospheric soundtrack. Hands down. If you start Uprising and listen to that somber tone, the somber choir, and you don't automatically feel sad when you walk up to that elite and he goes, the counselors, and then just dies, just fucking dies and doesn't say anything else. I always thought that was a bug, but here we are in 2017 and it's never been expanded on. But Halo 2, hands down, is the best game of all time. The story is fantastic. It
Wrong.
goes deeper into the lore. you just have some like seriously objectively wrong opinions. Like Resident Evil 6 better than 4, and then saying Halo 2
absolutely.
doesn't have a good story. Like, honestly, wait, Axe, why is Ray on this podcast?
Just so we have someone with objectively wrong opinions, and we can point out
okay.
those
Because
objectively
then,
wrong
then,
That's
opinions.
bad.
because
fair,
then
that's
also
fair.
you can say to yourself that this is a balanced show. Then you're like,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
look, we got these people, and then look, there's this fucking
That's true.
retard.
Hey,
that
we've-
means that
we've
we're
got
There's this retard that gets everything
We've
wrong.
got a
so,
Washingtonian, we've got a Canadian, we've got an Englander, we've got a Virginian, and a Californian. We're pretty diverse, but we're all white, so.
But yeah, Halo 2,
Gonna hit
best
the
game of
whip
all
and get
time, hands
Petey
down.
Paget.
Pretty good case.
best multiplayer, best campaign,
Wrong.
best
Awful.
level design, even though that's actually almost
level
objectively
level
wrong, but
design.
still.
Okay, okay.
Full of glitches.
I was
I
with
just,
you.
I just,
was
I just
with you.
conceded that. I just conceded that I was being sarcastic. That is,
I
that
was
is
with you.
Xperia,
You've gone too
we've
far.
talked about this, I believe, before.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe we came to the conclusion that Halo 3 was the superior game.
Game
In
sheet.
campaign,
What are your
maybe
thoughts, Game
multiplayer,
Sheet?
not even close.
At least your favorite game is in Halo Reach. I mean, look at it like
Yeah.
that.
Axeman,
I
what
think
do you have
Halo
to say for
3's
yourself?
multiplayer is a lot better than 2's.
Reach is my
I think
favorite.
2's,
Oh,
I think
okay,
2
okay,
had
I
the
wanna hear
worst
some
Halo
sandbox
2's
in the
some hot
game.
dog
I
shit.
want to hear some arguments now.
2
about
had the
this-
worst
about this.
sandbox, arguably, in the series.
Okay,
2
this
had the worst
against,
vehicles
you
as
know
well.
that Halo 1 exists, right? You know that Halo 1 is a game where there's only one fucking gun.
Yeah, Halo 1 sandbox at a competitive level
Yeah,
is
the
actually
Needler.
pretty good. Except for the Needler. The Needler is not good.
I mean, that's all I use.
It's better than
but
Halo 2.
if I haven't
Halo
played the
2
game
sandbox
wrong-
is bad. I'm not about to say it's not bad. It is bad.
They had
But
two
that's not a bad
plasma
thing.
rifles, man. 2 plasma rifles.
Yeah.
how
One
can you-
fired
how can you
Yeah,
go
that was
marginally
awesome.
faster.
You could dual
Yes,
wield
that's
needlers.
called creativity.
It's called Halo
Xperia.
2, so you get 2 needlers, bro. So
Like,
you
that's
can-
that's a really
Needlers.
long conversation. First of all, Ray, I think you're wrong about Halo CE sandbox. I think there's some genius
Wrong,
to that.
wrong again. Should we
Okay,
call
yeah,
you Wrong Ray
no,
now?
No, yeah, you're just
wrong.
wrong.
I don't
It
really
is
think Halo's ever really gotten their sandbox 100% right, to be fair. I think they've always fell short of the potential that they had.
In the competitive
But,
What
setting,
about
yeah.
Halo 5?
No, Halo 5, it just doesn't get it.
What do you mean? Game Sheet was just talking about the bolt shot, dude. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
true.
It's good.
Halo 4, that thing exists.
I mean, who doesn't want a sleight of hand bolt shot, really?
You don't want a care package?
Yeah, but seriously, Halo 3 over 2 date. Sound off in the
No,
comments.
except, but I'm sorry. No,
Go ahead,
just
Ray.
With those maps, no. Halo 2 crushes Halo 3 just purely based on its maps alone. Like,
Yeah,
there's just no,
bullshit.
there's just no context.
Halo 3 has some pretty good maps.
It has good maps, absolutely.
Halo
But
3,
even to,
like, running through them again, I was like, damn, this game has some good-ass maps right here.
and then you play Sandtrap, and you're like, oh.
You know what? I like
whoa,
Sand
Hey,
whoa,
Trap.
watch
whoa,
it.
whoa.
Hold
Watch
up.
it.
Yeah,
Hold up.
watch it, Wrong Ray.
Let's not get on this
Then you
tangent,
play
Ray.
Blackout, and you're
you
like,
tell
oh,
us.
this sucks.
You tell
And
us
then you
what
go-
what your case is. Give us your case for which game, or I guess you could just talk shit about someone else's pick.
Oh yeah, like that seems more fun. Just because like
No,
the thing
no,
with
no,
Halo 3
let's
for
not
me-
get on this
the
tangent.
thing with Halo 3
I regret
for me
saying
though
that.
is the sorry, you've opened up this can of worms, buddy. The thing with Halo 3 is that even its best maps to me are just like the closest thing it has to a map that could not exist in Halo 2 prior is like Valhalla because of the man cannons and stuff like that. The pit could easily have just existed in Halo 2. The Guardian is
But it
basically just another version of Lockout.
The God.
I don't know what you're
What
sitting
the-
here and you're like, all of these maps were amazing, but they could have existed in Halo 2. It's like, so
Because
what?
Halo 2 already happened and it already has better maps. So Halo 3 is just a worse version of something that already exists.
I think it's
Yeah,
a
but
better
that's
version
the
of
thing that
something
you can't say
already
that because
exists.
Guardian and Pit both play really, really damn well in Halo 3.
I
Yeah,
think
Guardian-
Ray's
They play
just
well,
trying
but
to
so
find
what?
some way to not
Lockout
like
played
Halo
Ray,
3.
Ray, I'll
Midship
smack
played
you after
really
the
great.
podcast, but just go ahead and give your picks. I'll tell you how you're wrong later.
later.
Yes, I'll save it for later. I'll bring it up.
Yeah,
I'll bring it up here.
your real picks, or at least one of them.
Well, yeah, because I mean, like, when I think about it, I don't really. I mean, do any of us even really have like a number one favorite game that just tops everything else?
Yeah,
Yeah, Halo 3.
2. I'm
Shut the
genuinely
fuck
not even
up,
kidding, Halo 2.
dude. It's Halo 3.
Yeah, I came up with one like when I was really, really young, and I played a lot of games since then, and I kind of came up with this like Well, I have a top 1, but it's more of like a top 5 that are all in the number 1 spot because I can't decide. But the one game I decided on when I was a kid was Banjo Tooie, baby. That game, so much fun. But it's
Fabian
Ray's
is just
turn.
going to be really depressed by this entire podcast.
Because Ray's about to tell you how objectively wrong you are.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because me, someone who thinks that Halo 2 is probably my favorite game of all time, just out of pure nostalgia.
Good lad.
Yeah, but
Yeah, out of nostalgia, not out of
Yeah,
objectively
Ray, give me the game,
good
give me the game.
design. Go ahead.
Half-Life 2 is
Red
pretty
Faction
fucking
Gorilla,
great.
right? Ooh.
Yeah, but is it like your favorite? Do you think it's like one of the best of all time?
It's still, to this day, I don't think I can think of another game that has as much variety in its single-player campaign that is able to keep as cohesive of an experience as that game. Every chapter is completely unique from one to the next, and yet somehow it all stays together and makes sense, and there's never something in a level that feels just completely arbitrary or doesn't fit with the gameplay structure or level design at all. I can go from slaying zombies with a shotgun in close range combat to a literal like leading soldiers into a war zone in city streets, and there's no like dissonance. It all feels exactly as it should. And I haven't played another game that's able to nail that as much as that game.
What I really do like about Half-Life 2 is it starts off on like a train, and then you have no weapons, and you kind of walk around, and you learn the basics, but it's integrated into the story, and then when shit hits the fan, that's like when you get your first gun. And that takes a while, but it's like a gradual build-up. It's like, okay, you have nothing, you learn how to move around, pick up items, and do all that, and then you go through that crazy warp cutscene. Then you're outside, and then you get a gun, or no, you get a crowbar, and then you just fuck shit up with that, and then it's like, okay, now you get a pistol, and it gradually adds in elements that way, and I think that's actually pretty cool. That boating
That's actually
section,
something that
I like
games
that boating
nowadays
section.
really don't do at all. Old games used to do that. Back in like about years ago, you start off with nothing, then you get like a pistol, then you'd upgrade to like a shotgun or like a submachine gun, and you wouldn't get like a sniper rifle or like a rocket launcher till the very end. Nowadays, games don't do that. You just get everything thrown at you like out the gate. Like, think of Halo 5. You're using like shotguns on the second mission. That's just like not
Yeah,
right.
It's a
and-
different
and
kind of
swords.
Trying to
game.
do progression.
It's like a sandbox
but-
game. The other one's more like
What,
you keep
Halo?
your arsenal throughout the rest of the game, and Halo's more of
Yeah,
a
but Halo used to
sandbox.
do that though. Halo did that before.
Yeah, remember in
Yeah,
Combat
it gave
Evolved,
you the most
even
powerful gun in the
even-
entire game from the first fucking level. How fucking great
It gave
is
you
that?
the
Not in
most
campaign, it was actually
well-rounded
campaign.
gun, Ray. Well-rounded.
Yeah, but you didn't see jackals until the second level.
Yeah.
You didn't see.
Exactly.
You didn't get the sniper until the third. You didn't see hunters until the third mission.
You didn't get red elites
But
right away
those
unless you were
were
playing
those
a high
were
difficulty.
still all like encounter-based design decisions. It's not like, oh, you know, that's just naturally good progressing.
Yeah,
of,
but
you
I mean,
know,
it's
the
the
game.
same
Yeah, that's
kind
what
of
I'm
idea.
talking about. Though. That's what I'm talking
But
about.
also,
Yeah, exactly. Like
the story's pretty
you
good
didn't-
of Half-Life 2, and just like the G-Man just coming out of the
oh boy,
shadows.
I can't wait to find out what happens in the third one. We'll get it any day now.
Ooh. All right, so I guess I'll go off on my little thing. So Banjo Tooie, undoubtedly the greatest game. And part of the reason is because you play it with a Nintendo 64 controller, all right? And when you play
Oh yeah, that
something,
just scores at like 10 points right away.
at least
on.
two. At least two, baby. All right. That thing has 3 handles, all right? So if you got 3 arms, you got an advantage, right?
One for each hand and one for your dick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
On the
it's
real
called game
though,
design.
like the story it's simple, it's straightforward, but it's like it's packed to the brim with character and charm. It's like, have you guys ever played it?
On the
No.
real though, I wonder
Yeah.
how many people in the comments are sitting there going, how many times is Acme gonna jack off about Banjo Tooie in this freaking
About this game, I haven't even
I'm gonna
played
have
it.
to
It's like in
disagree with
every
you.
episode he talks about Banjo Tooie. What's going on?
There's going to be a lot of people going like,
Banjo-Kazooie
I've never
was
played
better.
this game, so therefore it's got to suck shit.
What was that game cheat?
First Banjo Kazooie was better.
Wrong.
He just
Okay,
opened up
wrong.
a can.
okay, you two fight,
Ding, ding,
please.
ding. Round one.
The first
In
game-
ring.
No, the
Come
second
on.
one. The second one had too much backtracking. You had to go back to other levels to unlock stuff for different levels, and it was just kind of annoying.
That's,
Got
that
him.
is true. It did add
Got
some like replay value to the levels, but
Oh, he doesn't even have a
It's like playing
comeback.
Halo 1 all over again.
but also like the second game had a bunch of mini games, so it was also like it had multiplayer shooting, which was it's pretty funny. Like it's archaic, but it's like funny. But it also had like Mario Party games in it as well, and it had a good
I
amount
remember
of those.
like the first person mode where you carry around the bird or whatever.
Yeah, and you get to whack people. You could play as a freaking Jinjo, and you'd be like super quick. You'd be like 1 foot tall, and it'd be impossible to shoot you, but you'd die in like one hit. Oh man.
You know, it did have some good additions, but I mean, the campaign, or I don't know what you want to call it, the story was it just wasn't as fun as Banjo Tooie 1. It was more tedious. It was more like backtracking. It just wasn't fun.
When I got to fucking Grunty Industries as a kid, I couldn't get a single jiggy there. That level is complex.
It's crazy.
Up the
I'm not
butt.
really
they had some good
convinced by
levels,
your
like-
words here, Act Man. Like, I'm just hearing a lot of concessions. I'm hearing a lot of,
It
does.
was nice that they made it
say,
challenging, but it was just too much backtracking. Like, it was annoying as shit having to connect levels together.
When was the last
Can
time
I
you
just say
played?
this sounds like a different language you're speaking right now?
Yeah.
Well,
It sounds
it's
legit like a
basically
different language.
like a game that makes you feel like a kid again. It's like it's charming and simple and funny, and the characters like it's got some good old British humor. You know, that signature British wit.
What's that?
I don't know. British people, I just feel like are naturally funnier. I feel like
Sarcastic.
that's a natural like given trait.
Yeah, their country's pretty hilarious.
The state of their country is pretty hilarious, too.
Bad laser pens.
Aren't you Canadian, bro?
Yeah.
Pretty sure America's got everybody topped right now. Okay, we're pretty. We're not doing too hot.
Fabian, here we go. Bring in politics of the fucking cast.
We're going to get to the middle of voter
Here we
fraud in
go.
America. I'm
This
telling
is
you.
gonna get flagged. You're not getting any money for this.
No.
Yeah.
Can we just get like a T-shirt of Fabian's face from that meme that just says, "Let me tell you about voter fraud"?
Let me tell you about voter fraud.
When he's holding up that like nice symbol or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Bro,
If people
that
weren't
shit
here
is
for the
fire.
first episode, they're not going to get that reference. They're going to think,
No,
oh, it's one of
they're
those
just gonna be like,
political
why?
guys."
I'm 20 minutes into this cast. Why am I still here?
Yeah.
Well,
that's true.
you brought up politics in like each one of the podcasts. I feel like.
Yeah, just as a
like,
joke, as a meme.
yeah,
basically.
just like a little Easter egg that everyone
Just
has to
kind of
pay
like,
attention.
just
to.
that
Let's
everybody.
analyze this deep meaning of Fabian's usage of the word politics.
Right. Because everybody talks about politics, they can't help themselves. So I feel like I'm obligated to bring it up at least once in our podcast.
This was funny. We were talking about this like yesterday. It was like, yeah, Halo 2's story is great and all, but when you compare it to something like BioShock,
Hey, look, BioShock's a good game, and like it's the same thing going around with Dark Souls right now. Just like, oh, is the game hard? Just like Dark Souls. You know what I mean?
Oh, game's difficult? Yeah, Dark Souls invented difficulty.
yeah,
It's a
Battletoads
2D
toys.
side scroller that happens to be difficult. It's 2D Dark Souls. It's like, okay.
And I say that as somebody who fucking loves Dark Souls 3. Like, that
yeah,
was
love
one
it.
of my favorite games last year.
I think we all dig the Souls series.
Oh yeah. And that's a
Except-
great game to
Except
talk
Game
about.
Win because he can't cheat. He can't
We
cheat
have a
in Dark
dissenter in here.
Souls.
Never played it.
Never played it. I'd feel bad
In all
about
fairness,
talking
I only
about
started playing
Shame.
3.
It's on
a few
my-
weeks ago.
Shame!
It's on the little list I made of. We were supposed to make a top 10 list, and that's on it. Dankity Dank Souls is up there for sure.
Dank Souls 1.
I don't think anybody can deny that even if you've never played it, its impact now is undeniable.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost spawned its own genre. That's how influential that game was.
I'd put it in the top 10, like, for sure.
It took a long time for that to happen, though. Like, it
Like,
didn't.
like if we were to all agree on a top 10, I think that one and Resident Evil 4 would probably be two that we agree on.
Halo
Yeah.
4.
Well, because I mean, like, if you look at the growth of that series from Demon Souls to now with like Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3, it took a long time for that influence to start going everywhere. Like, for a long time, it was this kind of niche game that was getting a bigger and bigger crowd with time. And it was only until more recently that there started to be actual imitations to the point where now it's like its own genre.
And that just goes to show you how important word of mouth is. Like,
Yeah.
basically, Dark Souls is this experience. It's this game that you want to tell all of your friends about. Like, have you ever played Dark Souls? Like, that shit,
Oh, you're not a real gamer.
that pushed my shit in, dude. Like, I got real fucked up playing Dark Souls. But, like, that's just one of those games that, because of the way it was built and constructed, not only the fact that it was difficult and that made people feel good, but it was chock full of secrets and stuff to find, and that made people feel like
And the universe was so connected. Like, you could
Yeah.
look up and see that big bridge, you know, from the Firelink Shrine. You could see that, and then you'd be like, oh shit, I'm gonna be up there eventually.
yeah,
You know,
plus
there's just
top
like
notch.
all those
top-notch
areas that
world
you'd
building.
see in the distance.
Todd Howard should have presented Dark Souls.
Right. But it was
You
just
see
like,
that bridge? You can actually go there. I'm not making shit up this time.
Do you see that
I
cliff?
promise, guys,
You
I
can
promise.
actually fall off that cliff.
just like creature design A+, some of the best melee combat I believe any game's ever had.
I'd agree
really
with
great
Dark
elements.
Souls 3, not so much with the earlier games.
Well, I think
I think the first one
yeah,
is
I thought it was
probably
really
the
good.
best in the series. I mean, like story, universe, everything. It's still a little rough. Like
Unique
Dark Souls 3
storytelling that gets the community involved. Like I think it has like a really unique way of telling a story. It's almost completely like a puzzle. It's almost like a puzzle.
Yeah.
That's exactly like zombies, like the Call of Duty zombie series. How the entire story is hidden within the map.
That's
like,
what they.
There's literally none of it given to you.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that is actually a pretty good example. But I was gonna make a joke, which is like, oh yeah, Dark Souls, just like zombies. You know what I mean?
No, obviously, you know what I mean. Like the way that it tells the story is very similar. Like it's very implicitly hidden within the map.
Yeah, but I think
you have to actively search for it instead of having the game present it to you.
I think that's a little more. Dark Souls is presented in a way where it's like it's there if you want it. Like zombies is like you have to like go and touch literally every little button on the map.
You have to press the X button in front of every
it's like it's
fucking
more of like
wall
an
to see if it
Easter egg
opens a
thing.
door.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
not so much
it
like
literally is an
this.
Easter egg, yeah.
It's not really like this fluid, really organic storytelling that's weaved in with the environment and weaved in with the creature design and the item descriptions and all that. You know what I mean?
You know, to me,
Kind of
there's-
is, but not
I
to the degree of
realize
Dark Souls,
I realize
though.
it
Not to the
kind
degree
of
Dark
is,
Souls.
but like
I don't know. I get you though. It's not to
Yeah.
the degree of Dark Souls by any means. 'Cause it can't be. Dark Souls is a game that's literally a simple horde mode. Like it obviously it can't be.
yeah.
Well, I don't
Yeah.
mean to deviate too much from the original topic of this podcast, but bringing up Dark
Oh, that
Souls,
shit happens all the time.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah, standard procedure.
we're
Standard
fucking
procedure.
we're experts in it. Dark Souls is the case of, I think, sort of what I've been talking about in my recent video about the importance of the middle market. Dark Souls was not a huge AAA game at first. It was something that built up over time and then got to the point where it's now become this big influence in the industry. I guess what I'm asking is, what are the games you think you guys wanted to have that same influence? Because when I think of something I'd want, I wish other shooters took influence from Fear's AI and
Yes.
pushed that forward, because I feel like so many of the issues that we have right now with shooter design in the current climate stems from looking at the advances Fear did and went, yeah, we don't need to do that though. These sequels made their AI worse and they sold just as well, so we don't need to do anything.
That's just a problem in general, and I talked about it kind of in my latest Halo video about innovating through the game, around the game, not so much the mechanics. And AI is such a forgotten art when it comes to game design. Like you can create so many different encounters and scenarios. You can almost turn your AI into a puzzle that players have to figure out in each piece. And I think Doom actually did
Kind
that
of
pretty
like
well.
Dark
Yeah.
Souls, huh?
Like Doom, I think
Doom
had
did
pretty
a
interesting AI.
fantastic job.
So what did Fear do with its AI that was so crazy?
Mainly in its just raw intelligence.
Yeah,
Because
it was
the
just
way
hyper-intelligent.
because the way that most shooters they structure their games is, here are like 40 guys shooting at you at once, and you're going to take them all down all single-handedly, and also they are going to charge you relentlessly to knock 5 points off your health bar. Like they will just they feel like zombies even when they're not meant to be zombies.
Yeah, they're
I
really
think
aggressive.
that's-
They will continue to like flank you and stuff. Even like they'll just keep coming at you. It's
in
smart AI, it's
Fear,
clever.
I get the sense that not only do they want to kill me, but they also don't want to die themselves.
Well,
Like,
that's
they are-
but would you put Fear in like the top 10 games?
Oh yeah,
like
I
our
think
list.
in shooters, I think it absolutely is like a peak of that genre.
Okay,
And
See,
some
shooters,
here's the
run
thing
out
with
like
that, Ray, and I think this is an interesting discussion. I think that's an interesting point because I've heard a lot of game developers that say hyper intelligence in your AI is actually bad game design, because part of what makes good game design is making your AI, predictable, giving them deep behaviors and a lot of options, but also making them, predictable in a way that you can structure encounters in a certain way. Because if an AI is unpredictable and realistic, then they can do a lot of things, and that can cause frustrations.
Have you
I
ever
think
played?
that depends.
Have
But
you
they
ever
are,
played
they
Mario
are.
Party against
They are like
computers
that.
on the hardest difficulty? That shit is unreal.
Well, those guys are just fucking hackers. Like those guys they just manipulate the game entirely. They're like a casino. They just rig everything in their favor at
Yeah.
that point.
But I think if you
The
give
thing is though, Fav, they are predictable. Like they aren't completely unpredictable. They're just it's hard to frame it in words. It's one of those things you really have to play. But like they are predictable. You can tell when they're going to come at you. You can sort of predict where they're going to go. how they're going to attack you, where they're going to come from, but they're just intelligent.
They
think-
basically they react in a way that is like understandable due to your actions. If I take a corner and I just sit there and I try to wait for them to, work around them flanking me, they're just going to throw grenades and flush me out because, well, that's what people would probably do in that situation. They wouldn't just, oh, look, he's in a corner. Charge! Let's get oh, we're dead. Oh, charge again. Oh, we're dead. Charge again. Oh, we're dead. They don't do that. They just say, oh, yeah, just throw a grenade and flush him out. That's easy. It's much easier. It's a lot more believable.
In comparison to maybe like some of the older Halo AIs? Because those were pretty intelligent.
Yeah. I think if I can phrase them, they're like a more intelligent version of the elites. Because to me, the way the elites used to operate in Halo is that they were supposed to be like the closest thing to an equal to Chief they were. Yeah. In Battlefield encounters. They were the big deal. Like, yes, you would have your grunts and your jackals and they were a problem, but the elites were the problem that you need to take care of.
All right, let's get back to the topic. Okay, so I got a game. Maybe you guys have played it, maybe you haven't. It's a fighting game, all right? Kind of a long name. It's called Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2, all right?
Pardon?
Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2. Now, the thing about Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2 is that Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2 is just such a...
You say that one more time in that way, I'm going to fucking bitch slap you.
I'm pretty sure Budokai 3 was better. Yeah, Budokai 3
No,
was
dude, it wasn't,
better.
dude. That fighting game has so many characters, more characters than I've ever seen in a fighting game. Boy, I think Budokai 3 has more, but
oh, what was that? Budokai 3?
Yeah, but I don't think Budokai 3 is as good. But anyways, it's like
it's better.
On the Wii, you would do like these movements with the controllers, and you would like flick the nunchuck left, and then like you as Goku, you'd fly off to the left. Or to the right or up, and like the controls were so good, like surprisingly on a Wii controller for a fighting game where you can fly and dash and jump and move all over the place. You can go to like Super Saiyan 3 in the game.
The fact that you would even mention Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2 in the same like podcast as a game like Dark Souls, it's just like insulting, man. It's insulting.
Bro, that fighting game is so good.
It's a decent game. It's not like we're talking about like the best games of all time.
Dude, that's probably one of the best fighting games. Like so many different moves.
How many fighting games have you played?
Yeah,
how many have you played?
Like I'm a newbie.
Yeah, I played Dragon Ball Z Budokai, Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2, Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3, Dragon Ball Z Budokai
I haven't played any
Tenkaichi,
fighting
Dragon
game
Ball
as
Z
much
Budokai
as that one though. That one is addictive. You can have these long drawn out battles. I mean, you can customize your fighters so that they have like a buttload of health or just like a buttload of defense if you want to test some different things out, like endless replay value in that game.
Yeah, but have you played Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 3?
No.
Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 3.
Okay, again, I feel like you guys are speaking a different language.
Yes, I feel like I've just gone into
it's called English Fast.
English Fast.
But I mean, like that game for me is probably like one of the best fighting games. I probably wouldn't put it in like top 10, but just like a underrated gem sort of thing.
Do I have any of the co-hosts here? Are any of you Max Payne fans?
Yeah, I like Max Payne.
No.
Meh.
You get no.
I think I played Max Payne 3 and that's about it.
Oh, I think one of the questions that I got on Twitter was about Max Payne.
I'm gone. I'm never coming back again. Nope.
I've played Max Payne, Ray.
Wait.
So you're gonna go ahead and talk about like 3 Dragon Ball butt fuck fighting games, but I
Dragon
bring
Ball
up Max Payne.
Shippuden Budokai 2.
Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2.
You guys disappoint me.
I just said I've played it, Ray. What do you want from me?
Yours not enough, okay? There needs to be more than one other person here that's more than just meh.
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 I will just to very 5 seconds finish off a question concerning AI. I don't think there is one correct way to design AI.
Oh, yeah,
I think different games need different things.
Like if you were to take Doom's AI and put it in Fear, that would not work.
No. And if you were to take I don't know, I think hyper realistic AI would work for certain games. I think The Last of Us would benefit really well from something like that because that's about human struggle. Every encounter is supposed to be like this eventful thing.
It's meant to
Right.
be grounded. It's meant to. You're not against 50 people. You're against 3 or 4 people.
Yeah. So those 3 or 4 people have to be pretty smart.
Yeah, Hellblade did a pretty interesting job of making, at least at the very start, making 2 or 3 enemies seem really intimidating.
Yeah. Same with Dark Souls, to be fair, but that was more just like, oh wow, I'm dead.
Tell you what game makes AI intimidating. Armor. Have you ever played against the AI in Armor?
Well, because Arma is
No.
just aimbot.
They are literal aimbots that will down you in one shot. They do not miss your head.
Well,
whatever
that to me,
they're
that's-
using, they do not miss your head.
Well, that's the thing. That's a really tough part about, like, because the thing I noticed with a lot of shooters, like Call of Duty 2 Veteran is fantastic because, like, it's really that sort of tough but fair and, like, realistic with the setting of that game. Meanwhile, something like Veteran in Call of Duty World at War on levels like Bullshit
God.
and Corkscrew is just
Oh no, don't
it's
even
just
remind me of
insanity. It's just
Call
there's
of Duty 4
no
was the worst with
sense
that.
to it. It's just, oh
was
yeah,
just wave
I'm a
after
Japanese
wave.
soldiers. I can throw 8 grenades at you simultaneously. Why? Fuck you. That's why.
What was that mission with the tall grass where you had to flamethrower it all? And
Yeah.
The Japanese jumped out the grass.
Yeah.
That thing on Veteran was fucking blow my brains out difficult. Jesus. Never make me play that mission ever again while I walk this goddamn earth. I get PTSD from that
To
mission.
summarize, before we move on to viewer questions. And,
Wait.
and-
I think Game Cheat needs
Yeah,
to
game
give us a
shit.
game.
Come on, like
Yeah.
this is your guest act, man.
Yeah.
Be a good host.
Come
You gotta make yourself
bro.
shine, dude.
You guys kept talking over him. Let Game Cheat speak. All right, so new movement.
Yeah, we're waiting, Game Cheat.
Yeah.
You gotta come out with that big old, 12.2-inch dick and assert yourself.
I'm glad you remember the size.
Or was it 11.2?
Well, basically, fighting games are trash, and Halo 4 is the best. Send me some hate comments.
Like you should post this like on the SRK forums, and they
Probably
just go ballistic.
you just like took on the most complex, like intricate genre in the world, and he's like, yeah, they're all trash.
yeah, screw them. They're just dumb. They're for kids.
They're all trash. All right, so to summarize, Halo 4 is one of the best. Banjo Tooie, Bioshock, Dark Souls,
Resident Evil 6.
Halo 2.
Resident Evil 4.
Guys, we didn't even get to talk about Sonic
3.
Adventure.
You never brought it up. You were talking about.
I didn't know
yesterday.
Ackman was gonna end it. Like, I got. What else do I got
moving
on
on to
here?
viewer questions.
I got
make it-
Dead
no, quick,
Space
make
2.
your life-
No,
make your
Fav,
life-
like-
let the viewers talk. Shh, 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 shh.
They can shut the fuck up. I'm busy right here. Dead Space 2. I got
So
Sonic
uncouth.
Adventure. Yeah, those were the games I wanted to talk about.
Well, let's hear it.
No, I'm done. I just wanted to,
Oh,
just wanted
gotcha.
to
You
give
just
him a
want to
shout out.
just
All right.
announce
Sonic
them.
Adventure, good game. Anyone ever played Blue Stinger for the Sega Dreamcast? It's a good game.
Oh, yeah.
I just
Dream.
Game
Yeah.
Cheats played it. Someone else
No.
Someone else has played that game.
No. Wait, you haven't?
No.
I just
Fuck no, what the
imagine.
hell is that?
You know what? This podcast is so productive. Like, I think like next time there's a dumb argument on Twitter between people, they're gonna go like, you know what? I don't need to argue my case because I can just link you to this podcast episode where they will just ruin all your arguments. Like, screw you.
Right.
Just like
That's
a
just how-
nonsensical
It's like
string
someone's-
of logic.
Can you actually like conjure up a conversation that might happen where someone's like, "No, Dark Souls isn't that good. Sonic Adventure's way better than that."
It's
like, well, if
happened.
only someone had discussed it before.
Like, dude, I remember hearing about it from a friend that was legitimately comparing Crysis to Castle Crashers.
What? How?
Like, they were talking about how, like, yeah, I don't think Castle Crash is all that great because like the graphics of Crysis, man, like they're just so amazing.
That's like comparing
I
Wii
get-
Sports to Operation Flashpoint.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
I'm gonna have
Max
to give it
how
to
Payne
could we
to
you.
forget?
Mario.
How could we forget Wii Sports? Top 10 right there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, top
Viewer
10, top
questions.
one.
All
Y'all
right.
can
so
make fun of
some
Wii
of these,
Sports, but it was a good game.
Some of these
Fav,
we're
the
gonna
viewers
do.
are talking.
Yeah, I'm the host.
They can shut the fuck up. I already told them.
All right, so some of these questions, more specifically the shitty questions, we'll do kind of rapid fire.
Axeman, why would
right.
you say that about your audience?
There are no stupid questions, Jackman.
Yeah. yeah, my teacher
You'd
told
have
me
to
that in
see
year
some
one.
of these though. All right,
Unless
so
it was
first-
like Halo 3 versus Halo 2. I mean, that's pretty stupid.
I mean, that's
Halo
objectively
3.
answerable.
Halo
isn't
3.
it?
Okay, anyway, go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Okay, so first
Halo
question
3
from
was.
QSP is: do you, sir, lemon? Yes,
No.
lemon.
No.
Only on the 4th of July.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Just go to the next question.
That's what I
Yeah,
was
just
saying.
go. Just go.
Are these real people?
Yes.
Someone's like, I might make a stupid question, and it's so stupid they'll put it on anyway.
Just
Well,
that
pretty
quick.
cool.
Ha! We did.
Okay, so this one comes from Maurizio12. Which video game franchise would you want to see as a live-action movie if it didn't fuck up? Game Cheat.
Hello.
I want to see more of that Halo Landfall type videos, you know? All the other Halo movies have been trash except for Landfall. Well, that wasn't a movie, it was just marketing, but still.
Did you see that, Xperia?
Did I see that?
Yeah.
That was perfect. If they'd made a
Neil
movie in that style,
Blomkamp and
ooh.
Halo together are like a match made in heaven. The fact that Neil
Seriously.
Blomkamp has not yet come back to do some more Halo stuff, has not been asked to, genuinely, like, it makes me comprehend reality. I don't understand why that's not happened yet. I know, obviously, like, as of very recently, a lot of progress has been made towards that happening, but the fact that it's taken 10 years to get him back to doing Halo just fuck me up and call me Susie.
Yes, absolutely. It's a good thing he didn't make. It's a good thing that he's going to go back to Halo instead of just making another follow-up to District 9. Like, it's an absolute tragedy that District 9, when it came out instead of another...
He wants to do that.
I think Witcher would probably be a really cool, like, live-action movie to watch. Like,
I just
Geralt,
expect
you know?
every piece of media that we're about to talk about, whether it be Halo or Witcher or anything, it's just like
Resident Evil 4.
I just feel like it's going to be disappointing anyway.
Well, but here's the thing.
But the caveat is,
fuck up.
if it didn't fuck up. So if it was good.
Oh, it's like.
But has there ever been a good video game movie? Answer me that.
But that's the
But here's the
caveat
thing.
of
Yeah,
the
but
question.
the
If
Doom-
it didn't
The
fuck
Doom
up.
movie with Dwayne
It's not
Johnson
possible.
in. The Doom movie with Dwayne Johnson. Watch
okay.
that. Tell me that ain't literal
there
perfect
ever-
cinema.
I'm watching the Netflix Castlevania anime thing, and that's.
I've actually heard that's really good.
I'm kind of digging that slightly.
There's I think a television series out of Saints Row 2 would be fantastic. Because for those that haven't played it, that's like a gangster game where your protagonist is like an actual like bad dude. Like, he is not a good person. He is taking people's girlfriends and making them get run over by their fucking, significant others. He's burning people's hands alive. He's throwing them off rooftops. He's burying them alive. Like, he's a
Sounds
bad
like my
fucking
kind of
person.
guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I would want to see that because
like him as a protagonist, that would be
yes,
pretty
I would want
Wire?
to see that because I'm a sucker for good anti-heroes, and I understand that they might be a little bit overdone, like between
Doesn't sound like an
Breaking
anti-hero.
Bad and
It
Dexter.
sounds just like a douchebag.
Yeah, it sounds just like a bad dude. I would like to see how far they could do with that of a gangster show where the protagonist really is just a bad dude, but he's got enough charisma that you for some reason side with him.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. Alrighty,
And Saints Row 2 just
I
has so much
Spiteful
fun in
asks,
it that it should have it.
do you see potential in 343 and Halo 6? What is the most important thing 343 should focus on with Halo 6? Wow, I am impressed. Nobody interrupted me after the first part of that question.
Can I start?
Go ahead.
No.
He's got a speech prepared.
I've had this
Teacher,
speech
Mr. Actman, my hand is raised.
my hand, Mr. Axman. It's in the air.
Yes.
Please, Mr. Axman.
Yes, young
please.
Xperia. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so do I have faith in them? Absolutely yes. However,
Why?
Yo, let me slip you that check. Hold up.
fuck off. No, I think the game needs to be a classic Halo. Me and Fav have
It's not
discussed
going
this.
to
And
be.
like,
what
no end.
about their behavior
But-
gives you faith that they'll actually do that?
I just
Yep, there you go.
Intel?
You're done.
I'll take over.
I have. Let me just say this. I think the game needs to be a classic Halo. If the game is a classic Halo, I have a lot of hope for it. If not, I'm gonna go into it with an open mind no matter what, because going into it with any preconceived notion is just fucking stupid. But
My dog's barking in the
if
background.
it's
Poor
not,
soul.
he's barking at the sound of Spartan abilities. If it has Spartan abilities and if it has enhanced movement, then like I said, I'm gonna go into it with a completely open mind, and I urge everybody else to do that. But I'll be a little bit worried.
I think, yeah, there's definitely potential. I mean, we've been seeing what the Forge has to offer, and Gamecheat, you've been fucking around with that a lot and creating some really
Banned.
funny things. And
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, all the the weapon swapping pads and all that. Forge, they're going to build on that, and if they add AI into it, I mean, that's going to be something that not many other games will have. Like a forgeable AI.
Yeah, the advancements made to Forge in Halo 5 were huge. If they focus on that primarily, or if they focus heavily on that for Halo 6, then that is going to be pretty fucking big. That's
Or
going
if
to
they
be
just
really awesome.
put that at launch.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it needs to be there at launch.
Well, yeah,
because
because
to be there.
I think that's the big difference. I think like what really is going to depend on Halo 6's like faith in the community or whatever is going to be the launch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
compared to
agree.
Halo
I think
5.
that's the most important thing. Yeah.
I
that they should
do
focus
honestly
on.
think that Few 43 will nail the launch. I reckon after, especially after Halo 5, because you had to be blind to not see the reaction to Halo 5's launch. If they nail the launch, they'll be in good stead.
Well, the problem is, first of all, I think you're all wrong. I don't think
Split
even if
screen's
Halo
coming back,
6
bro.
launches exactly
That too.
the perfect version of Halo 6 launching day one. I just don't think that gameplay is interesting. I don't think that's gonna pull anybody in. That's not gonna win anybody over. So, but here's the thing: they all have that mentality where they're like, "Wow, everybody really liked Halo 5. Now, if we can just do the exact same thing with a better launch, it's just gonna solve all of Halo's problems." It's not. It's just gonna crash and burn again, and then they're gonna realize, like, oh, maybe we're just not really making Halo games the way that people who enjoyed Halo from before liked them. But I don't know. I don't have a whole
agree,
lot
but
for
the launch is going to be very important. Though. Like, even if
Well, I
Spartan
mean, they're
and
keeping the
everything do
same
stay, the
gameplay, right?
launch will be super important.
It's important.
I know,
considering
like
Halo 5.
here's the, I'm just coming at it from a completely selfish angle. I enjoyed 4 and 5 for different reasons. I enjoyed 4's campaign more, and I enjoyed 5's multiplayer more. So I'm probably going to go in Halo 6 like expecting to get something out of it, because there hasn't been a Halo game that I've hated, contrary to some people's beliefs. Like, I've gotten at least some entertainment out of them. I'm just not going to go into Halo 6 expecting the exact same quality of the older games. But then again, that's been the case for pretty much since Halo 3. So that's not going to be much of a change of pace for me.
All right. Next question from Justin Norman. This will be a fun one to answer. Do you think if there is a really, really, really small chance that Noble 6 and Sergeant Johnson could still be alive?
Oh my god.
Oh god.
Guys, I got the idea. All of us on 3. 1, 2, 3.
No!
Yes. Wait. No.
Oh.
I knew if anybody to say yes, I knew for a fact it was going to be Gamecheat.
Why?
I've read the code. It has resurrection voice lines.
Why?
They're-
Here's a better
Deep in the
question.
code.
Why do you even want Noble 6 back? He's a fucking cardboard cutout, or she.
He's
I want my armor in
Husk of the
campaign,
player.
man. I want to see my armor in campaign.
Yes, sir. All right. I think this could be a pretty good question for us to end on. All right. What are your thoughts on Destiny and Destiny 2? Kind of broad, but there we go.
Overrated pieces of shit.
I don't even give it any attention, so I can't comment.
I've not played Destiny.
I probably shouldn't say that, just because I talked to some people over there, and I want to be like, hey, your games are bad.
What I will say about the first Destiny is, like, as I'm playing through it, it's like one of the first games I've ever played where I spectacularly feel absolutely nothing. It's just like there's no point where I'm like, haha,
They
that
feel
was
very
funny, or
shallow.
oh, that was kind of cute, or wow, this is getting good, or ooh, that music's good. Well, the music
I don't know.
sometimes,
I like.
but
Music
I
is
enjoy the
fucking
grind.
good.
I think the grind is fun. I think it's satisfying getting
What?
weapons. But
Seriously?
oh yeah, unpopular opinion, but that's it. Like I don't think the game is anything special.
you mean
I don't think
unpopular, objectively wrong opinion?
Yes.
I mean, here's
Well,
the thing. I
that's
feel like
when you're
even the people who
subjective.
enjoy Destiny kind of hate Destiny.
Oh no, I'm up there. I'm up there. I don't hate it. I just don't love it. There's nothing.
It sounds like Halo
it's-
fans, to be honest.
there's nothing to love about Destiny. Like it's fun, but it just doesn't have anything to it that's like, oh dude, I fucking love this. Like there's
It's
Well,
here's
it's
the
kind of
thing.
just like a corporate game. Like, how can
Oh,
we put
100%.
all this unrelated garbage into one game and sell it? Like, well,
Well,
it's
it's
gonna
like,
be
I've not
it's
played
gonna
the
be in the
game.
future, but they're gonna be using like shields and medieval warhammers and shit. Oh well, we've got to have some sort of class system. Well, why don't we give some players the ability to turn into Captain America for 5
You're
seconds?
boring me just talking about
Well,
it.
to be fair, here's the thing. To be fair, I don't even think that was the pattern, because as we know, Destiny was a project that Bungie was really pushing for. It was something that became corporatized and became more vanilla and bland as it got closer and closer to its deadline, and it was cutting parts of the story, and it was cutting, and members were getting fired or just leaving the company, et cetera, et cetera. It
We
wasn't a
gotta
case of
leave
just, like,
Microsoft for creative freedom. Oh, hey, what's up, Activision?
Yeah, right.
Well, to be
Seriously.
to be fair though, and I'm saying as someone who like I played Destiny vanilla year one. I haven't gone back to it since. If there's no way that was what Bungie envisioned when they were first coming up with Destiny. There's just
Hell
no way after 5 years of development that was like their dream vision. There's just no way. But the thing, like,
I could
the
tell
reason-
you
the
about our
reason-
dream vision.
Okay, so you're making this
I
game
could
that
tell
its
you
goal
about
is
the
to
game
Let
we
Ray
wanted to
talk.
make.
Shut the fuck
Ray
up,
talk.
Ackman.
Ackman, let Ray
Let
talk.
Ray
Jesus.
talk.
There is going
Let
to be.
Ray.
Like,
Oh my God.
I'm just gonna like, strangle him. You have this game that's a shooter that is multiplayer focused and is like trying to be a pseudo MMO. What other publisher are you going to go to for big infrastructure and servers? EA? No. Fucking like THQ? Pff, they didn't exist by that point. Like, there's not really many other options they had other than Activision for a game of that scale when you really think about it.
But like you were saying earlier, it's the most ironic thing that they left Microsoft for creative freedom and then went straight to fucking Activision.
Oh
like,
yeah, like I
would argue that
I
Microsoft gives you
understand
more.
the oxymoron there, but I also understand why they ultimately did have to go for that for the type of game they were trying to make with that point. Because like, what other publisher could they have gone to for that sort of
They
experience?
could have
Valve.
left Halo and just made Destiny under Microsoft, which I know they didn't want to do, but
I've got to say one thing, right? We know Bungie's track record was staying in long contracts and how they begin to dislike the game that they're making for a long time when they're forced to make it for ages. They are in a 10-year contract with Activision. Destiny, I know obviously it's a long way away, but like Destiny 3 and what comes after that, it's going to be very interesting to see if you can see Bungie sort of like boredom with the game, because I assume that like they did with Halo and like they did with other games, they'll get bored the longer they're making
Well,
it.
their leader, Jason Jones, you know, like I think it might have been the Halo 2 commentary where they talked about, I think it was Marty, Joe, and him, and they were talking about how when Marty was explaining how Jason Jones like, hey, I got this idea for Halo 2, and Marty's like, Joan, you hate sequels. Like, you've never worked on a sequel we've ever done because you don't like them. Like, why are you? He's like, no, I got this great idea for Halo 2. We're gonna stick with it. Okay, yeah. Year later, he's off the project and working on something else because he got bored of it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. That's the thing. Like, it's going to be interesting to see how that effect plays into later Destiny titles, because obviously the dev team now is like wholly different to what it was back. In
Oh
the
yeah,
Halo
it's
days,
it's
back
not
in the
it's
golden
not the
days,
same group of people.
Oh,
It's
no,
different.
that's why it pissed me off when people say, "Oh, bring Bungie back to Halo." No, please fucking don't. Like, no, please, no. Let's not do that. But like, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that effect plays into later Destiny titles and how if it rubs off, because you could kind of tell it rubbing off on Halo a little bit, but not as much as they were probably feeling it. But
Yeah, I mean, from what I played of Destiny 2, I didn't hate it. Like, I felt like I was gonna hate it. I'm like, you know what? This isn't that bad. Like, I'm not completely, devoid of
It's not
enjoyment.
like a bad
but-
game. It's not like a poorly
Yeah.
made product or a poorly made thought out game
Yeah.
or something.
And I know a lot of, I don't know a lot of people, but I'm sure the people who work on it, they're passionate about it.
Yeah.
And they pour their heart and soul into it. It's such a big. Here's the thing. I have no idea why people consider it innovative. It's
No.
literally
Yeah, it's
just
not.
like an MMO light. It's literally just like a less interesting version of a concept that's already existed before. So I have no idea why people are like doing the Dark Souls thing where they're like, Anthem, it's Destiny. It's Destiny.
I'm also thinking like as well, like, I mean, because I got into an interesting conversation with one of my commenters, and there was something that he said in there that I understood where he's coming from, but I disagreed with. And that was, he was saying that even people that don't like the game admit the combat's great. And I go, I don't think it is though. Me personally, I don't particularly care for Destiny's style of shooting and weapons, and I don't.
you don't like shooting the same boss for 20 minutes straight?
I don't like when I was playing Destiny 2. The thing I'm honestly really curious to see if it's just a control and frame rate thing. That's why I'm curious that's why I will play it on PC immediately that beta's available.
Well, that I
But-
will give Bungie
but-
credit
but,
for.
like-
The controls feel good.
They feel good, but it's like when I'm
Well,
shooting
dude,
somebody,
thing is
I just
though-
feel nothing. Like I'm shooting
Yeah.
an enemy, and I'm like, I should feel like this gun is a fucking like ripping this enemy to shreds. Like it's a fucking beast. It's from like this ancient warlord in this past civilization that I worked really hard to loot for, and I'm just like pap pap pap, and the enemies flash white because it's a T-rated game, and they're just big, huge dudes that just fall down. I'm like,
right.
feel like I think my tweet was like, I'm poking marshmallows with a stick. That's what it feels like.
yeah, like
I got
the
2
thing
points
is-
to make about Destiny, and then I think we'll wrap this up. One is, as far as the control, when I was playing the Destiny 2 beta and I was using like the jetpack, I was like, huh, the Reach jetpack was a lot more like fluid than this. It was so awkward to use, and I was just like, man, can't this just like work like the Reach jetpack or something? And then point number 2 is basically like, I think just the name Destiny kind of sums up the whole generic experience as, you know, the idea of destiny or someone's destiny is like a focal point in so many stories and games and stuff, and to just call your game Destiny and have some misguided, you know, poorly explained story kind of makes the universe feel like a giant generic fuckfest.
It's like if they actually called the original Halo Blam.
Yeah. Or if they just called it like Ring.
Yeah. Or if they called that movie about that alien. Oh, shit.
Oh, hold up.
Yeah, except that movie was actually good, though.
Yeah, I know. This is a good movie.
Well, but that's another thing, too. It's like Alien, you know, maybe, that's the thing. I didn't grow up in a world where Alien didn't exist, so maybe I can't speak this. But to me, even Alien, when you think Alien, you think mystery. You think uneasiness. You think, like, you know, you're with the unknown, because it's what it fucking means. Destiny is such a wide... It can mean so many different things, and it means so many different things in different stories. And like, I do think, Acme, you're onto something there where, yeah, to call your game Destiny, it's just so empty.
Yeah.
Like,
it's so generic.
Mm-hmm. Or like the Walking Dead. The Walking Dead, where it's not in reference to the zombies that are the monsters. It's talking about the people.
We are the Walking Dead.
That's really deep, man.
Yeah,
really deep.
Really pulls at the
It's like
heartstrings.
that's such a great, like, it actually makes me like vomit a little bit when I see critics saying, "Oh, it does this really interesting concept where the monsters aren't really the monsters. It's about how the people react to the situation and what it turns the people into." And I'm like, wow, that's like
a Twilight
90%
Zone
of horror
episode.
movies, straight up, just like, oh wow, the zombies aren't the main villain, it's the people. What?
All right, everyone. That's all we've got for today. Dang it, I should have interrupted Fabian as he was like saying his last thing. Kind of
That's an
like
old
that one
gag.
time that would have been, yeah, that was funny. Yeah.
I'm gonna stop coming.
All right. Well, if you guys get any questions for us, leave them in the comments below. If you want to disagree with everyone else's opinions but mine, because mine are objective facts, feel free to do that. Like the video, what have you, and check out Gamecheat while you're at it.
But nobody else.
Nobody
No,
else.
No
none
one
of
else.
us.
No, we don't deserve
Our
it.
stuff
my
is
ass.
trash.
Oh wait, need a Twilight Zone ending. It turns out the best games were actually from the Twilight Zone. Peace.